This is the 1/48th Megascale RX-78-2. It's a pretty large Gundam kit, standing at about 15 inches tall, 38 centimeters. And here it is, next to Juka. I was born in South Korea, in a little harbor town, and growing up I had a very positive exposure to nature. Living by the waterfront meant doing things that people that lived by waterfronts did. So every now and then my parents would take me down to the mudflats when the tide went out. And you go out and do mudflat things, like catching crabs, digging up clams, and looking at all the creatures left behind during low tide. The first time most people see an octopus, it's, I imagine, in an aquarium or something. But for me, it was in my colorful toy bucket after my mom caught one for me to look at. And ever since then, I've had nothing but fascination for the creatures in this world that the average person would probably call ugly or disgusting. This fascination would carry on over to America, where my mom would take me to tide pools and show me documentaries about marine life. And the documentaries about the deep sea creatures were my favorite. Clearly, right? You can see where this is going. I guess timeline-wise, this would be the very first drawing of Juka. I say it's my first because it's drawn on the back of my church choir sheet, and that was a long time ago. Looking through these sketches, you can see how she's basically an amalgamation of all my various interests and hobbies. And as I grew up, I guess she did too. Her design changed a lot over the years, but you can clearly see what elements carried over. And developing her design was a constant internal battle between making something feasible versus what I visualized. Would I love to have her be a riding massive tentacles that can shapeshift at a moment's notice? Of course, but how realistic would that be to accomplish in a stop-motion animation? The amount of effort to efficiency ratio just wouldn't be worth it. As the years went by, I just kept making stupid excuses for constantly changing the design, or why I wasn't ready to make her yet. And you realize that in waiting for the perfect design, the perfect concept, the perfect background lore or whatever, all you're doing is wasting time. I wasted so much time, so much money, and it went nowhere. So Juka ended up being this character of mine that was in my own personal development hell. She was a character that existed only on paper, and I hated that. It's like there's all this build-up and planning and nothing to show for it at the end of the day, and I just felt really fucking pathetic about it. But what would take me out of development hell was this behind-the-scenes video for Kubo and the Two Strings.
The way we actually built that puppet full scale, this big monster that they face off against, it's this 16-foot tall puppet that weighed 400 pounds, and it's at the base we had to build essentially this metal contraption controlled by a computer that was essentially the same thing you find on a flight simulator or on a theme park ride, a virtual reality ride at a theme park, and that allowed us to move the torso around without fear that the thing would fall over and collapse and crush the animator who was bringing it to life. But essentially, we created this high-tech thing to move the torso around, but at the same time, it was like a marionette because we have these cables that went from the wrist all the way up to the ceiling and drop back down to the floor that were held in place by plastic buckets filled with sandbags. And so it's a combination of really high-tech stuff and lo-fi stuff that we merged together, which is one of the things I absolutely love about stop motion.
Seeing what Leica did for their giant skeleton really inspired me. It was innovation genius on a whole new level, and it put all sorts of fresh thoughts in my head. It made the idea I had for Juka look simple, small, and completely feasible. Now, I don't have an in-house production team. I hire contractors and artists for things I can't do, like drawing and 3D modeling, and I hire the voice talents for my characters. But aside from that, I do almost everything by myself. I wasn't going to have 3 to 5 dudes pulling a cable with sand buckets or whatever the fuck to keep my steel monstrosity in position. I needed to make sure the Juka I made was going to be something I can puppeteer by myself.
Give me one, please.
Because I didn't kill you, and because we're friends, you know.
That's the reasons.
Eldritch Demon! You shall know the taste of flame and steel! Glory to the Emperor!
Please and thank you. What now?